Imagine a locked, heavy wooden door blowing open with like the force of a hurricane. You look outside, your adrenaline is totally spiking, and you're ready to confront whatever just broke into your house.
Right, fight or flight kicks in.
Exactly. But you look, and the muddy ground out back doesn't hold a single footprint. No tracks leading up to the door, no tracks leading away, just nothing.
Which is physically impossible.
Right. Today, we're looking at what happens when the absolute laws of physics just blink out of existence. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are so thrilled you're here with us. We have a seriously wild stack of sources today.
Oh, absolutely wild.
Yeah, specifically, we're pulling excerpts from a video transcript.
And to be clear right out of the gate, our mission today isn't to definitively prove the existence of extraterrestrials. We aren't here to convince you that, little green men are flying around in flying saucers.
Yeah, definitely no tinfoil hats required today. Instead, what we want to do with you is look at the precise anatomy of 3 highly detailed first-hand encounters.
The mechanics of it.
Right, we're going to dissect the sensory disruptions, the environmental anomalies, and, frankly, the profound psychological impacts reported in these sources. We want to see what happens when the normal rules of our reality just stop applying. So, okay, let's unpack this.
It is a fascinating synthesis to undertake, really, because while these 3 accounts occur in vastly different geographic settings to completely different types of people, the similarities in how the environment and the technology break down are just impossible to ignore.
Yeah.
But it's not just that things break down, it's how they break down that we really need to scrutinize today.
Right, exactly, the mechanics. So let's start with the most aggressive of the 3 encounters. I feel like this will really establish how these phenomena interact with human technology in physical space.
Sounds good.
So we have a woman spending a Saturday night with her boyfriend at his parents' house. And I should note, this isn't like a tight suburban neighborhood.
Right, that's an important detail.
Yeah, this is a massive secluded property, the kind where you can walk out the back door for a mile and still be on their land.
Which is a crucial variable, honestly. Supreme isolation means a lack of external witnesses.
Yeah.
It essentially creates a controlled environment for whatever anomaly is occurring.
Exactly. And the evening starts incredibly normally. I mean, they make dinner, share some wine, they play a card game called Phase 10 for hours.
Very cozy.
Super cozy. Around 1:10 a.m., they put on a movie and fall asleep on the couch, just a completely standard weekend. But this is where the predictability of reality just shatters.
Okay, here we go.
They are violently awoken by an incredibly loud noise. She describes it as being like a boat horn, but with a much lower vibrating bass.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so loud they physically have to cover their ears. The ground is literally vibrating, and she notes that the glasses in the china cabinet are physically shaking against each other.
See, that detail about the glasses shaking is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it tells us this isn't just an auditory hallucination, it's a massive, localized displacement of air. Low frequency sound waves carry physical kinetic energy. It takes immense power to generate a wave that can actually shake a house foundation like that.
That's terrifying. And before they can even process that, as they look out the giant bay window into this dark field, there is a bright, room illuminating flash.
Like lighting.
She specifically says it was brighter than a camera flash, much more like lightning that just lit up the entire interior of the house. But when they look out, there's absolutely nothing out there. No storm, no vehicle, nothing.
So immediately, the phenomenon initiates a deliberate sensory overload.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, an immense auditory assault, followed immediately by a visual blinding. It acts as a biological suppression tactic. It disorients and paralyzes the victims.
Which totally sets the stage for the intrusion. So they move to the kitchen and they realize the backyard floodlight is on. And the boyfriend is immediately on edge because that light operates on a motion sensor and he knows a small animal wouldn't trigger it.
Right, it needs mass.
Exactly. Then the auditory anomaly completely shifts. Instead of a blaring horn, they hear this strange, non-language mumbling or whispering coming from outside.
Oh, I hate that.
I know, it's so creepy. And through the side window, they see the silhouettes of 2 figures swaying. Not walking, just swaying in place.
So it's escalating, right?
Yeah.
Escalating from a broad environmental disturbance to a localized specific threat.
Exactly. And here is where the technological breakdown happens, which is my favorite part to dissect. They decide to call the police. The boyfriend pulls out his phone.
Let me guess. No service.
0 service, not even Wi-Fi, in a house where he famously always has a great connection. She pulls out her phone, also 0 service, a complete digital dead zone. Meanwhile, whoever or whatever is outside starts jingling the handle to the locked kitchen door.
Oh man. The human fight or flight response has to be kicking in hard right now.
Oh, completely. The boyfriend panics, he screams a total bluff about having a gun, and tells him to get off the property.
Which is a natural reaction.
Right. And his bluff actually triggers a reaction. The deafening boat horn noise blasts through the house a second time. They flinch, look up, and the shadows are just gone.
Just vanished.
Vanished. There's another massive lightning flash, and instantly, simultaneously, both of their cell phones light up with notifications. The service is back.
Wow.
But at that exact same millisecond, both the locked front door and the locked side door blow violently open.
Both of them.
Both of them. Now, the police eventually show up, but they find 0 muddy footprints outside the house. None by the side door, nowhere, despite the yard being entirely deep mud.
That's the part that really gets me.
Well, look, I have to push back on the initial assumptions here a little bit. I look at the sudden loss of cell service perfectly coinciding with the event, and both locked doors blowing open at once. Could the footprint thing just be a detail they missed in their panic?
You mean human error?
Yeah, I mean, why jump straight to environmental manipulation? Maybe someone just kicked the doors really hard and ran.
Well, let's think about the actual mechanics of kicking in a heavy exterior door. What's fascinating here is that to generate the physical force required to blow open a locked deadbolt, you need leverage.
Okay, yeah.
A human kicking in a door requires a planted foot. It requires traction. If the ground is deep mud, a person applying the much horizontal force would slide, or at the very least, leave incredibly deep, distorted footprints from planting all their weight. The police couldn't reconcile the physical force required to break the locks with the absolute pristine condition of the mud.
Okay, that makes sense. You can't break physics. You absolutely need traction. But what about the phones and the doors happening at the exact same time? When I hear that, I immediately think of a localized EMP, an electromagnetic pulse.
An EMP would explain the phone drop, certainly. I mean, a smartphone antenna is designed to receive a specific, tiny sliver of radio frequency.
Right.
An EMP floods the environment with so much electromagnetic energy that the antenna essentially chokes. The circuit gets overwhelmed and the receiver goes blind. But an EMP doesn't blow doors open. It only affects electronics.
Right. So how do the doors happen? My mind goes to a sudden change in atmospheric pressure.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Think about how a vacuum seal works. A house is basically a sealed box of air. If the atmospheric pressure outside suddenly and massively drops, the standard high pressure inside the house has to escape. It's like a balloon popping.
Oh.
The air forces its way out, literally blowing the doors outward.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. Standard atmospheric pressure is about, 14.7 pounds per square inch?
Something like that, yeah.
And a standard door is nearly 3,000 square inches. So a sudden localized pressure drop outside means thousands of pounds of outward force hitting those doors from the inside.
Wow. Thousands of pounds.
Yeah. What is terrifying here is the orchestration of it all. To create a localized digital dead zone and a massive pressure differential at the exact same moment requires a manipulation of the environment that vastly exceeds any human capability.
So, if physical force and traction are required to blow open a door, what happens when an anomaly interacts with our world without any mass or weight at all?
Now we're getting into the really weird stuff.
We are. That brings us to our second source account, which completely shifts the paradigm from violent force to eerie, almost impossible physics. And it introduces a brand new variable for us, animal intuition.
This is critical. Moving from a human's, often flawed sensory processing to the highly tuned biological instrument of a dog.
Exactly. So let's set the scene. We have a man who just went through a really messy put-up with his fiancée. It's March, and he decides to temporarily move into his parents' secluded camp house, which sits on one of the largest lakes in the country.
Another isolated location.
Very isolated. It's the dead of winter, the area is deserted, and it's just him and his black lab, Zemo. Now, on the first night, Zemo, who is a lab that normally loves the outdoors in any weather, completely refuses to go outside. The dog just stands by the door, tucks his tail, and cries.
Let's unpack the biology there for a second.
Yeah.
We tend to dismiss a dog acting weird as just, animals being animals, right?
Right, like he smells a raccoon or something.
Exactly. But a dog's sensory apparatus is wildly different from ours. Dogs can hear ultrasonic frequencies up to 45,000 hertz compared to our peak of about 20,000.
That's a huge difference.
It's massive. Their olfactory receptors are thousands of times more sensitive. Furthermore, they can sense microshifts in barometric pressure. When Zemo refuses to go outside, he's not being stubborn. His biological early warning system is redlining. He is detecting a physical anomaly before the human can even perceive it.
That context makes what happens next even creepier. So the man goes out to see what's wrong, and he sees dozens of strange balls of light out on the horizon over this massive lake. They're moving in erratic, completely impossible directions.
Just darting around.
Yeah, darting around. He initially assumes it's a fleet of drones, but after a few minutes, all the lights shoot straight up into the night sky at a speed that totally defies gravity, and they vanish.
And the dog.
The very second they vanish, Zemo trots outside like nothing ever happened.
Because the specific frequency or pressure anomaly his biology was detecting ceased to exist in their immediate physical space.
Exactly. But of course it comes back. Night 2, Zemo is crying again. The man goes out and the lights are back, but this time they are much closer. The erratic movement is gone. Now they are blinking and moving with this deliberate, terrifying straightness.
Oh, I don't like that.
I know. And then the balls of light slowly merge together. They physically combine into one giant sphere of light that just hovers over the water and then slowly dips below the horizon, right into the water itself.
Which completely shatters the drone theory.
Yeah, let's talk about why. Here's where it gets really interesting. If I have a fleet of physical drones made of plastic and metal, they don't just merge into a giant sphere.
No, they would just crash into each other and fall in the lake.
Exactly. I keep thinking about how those lights moved. It reminds me of like a laser pointer teasing a cat. You know, the red dot is erratic, it's weightless, and it can touch a couch or a wall without damaging it.
That analogy is highly apt, actually, because it suggests we are looking at a projection rather than a physical craft.
Right.
If light is merging, it's not a rigid body. It's behaving more like plasma or light being manipulated in a way we simply don't have the technology to achieve. Furthermore, look at the pattern here. What we are observing is an escalation of proximity, a systematic testing of boundaries.
Oh, testing boundaries, yeah.
Right. First, the phenomenon establishes itself on the distant horizon. The next night, it moves over the water and demonstrates complex synchronization by merging. It is literally probing the environment.
And on night 3, the boundary is entirely breached. The man stays up to watch. This time, the lights don't travel from the horizon. They just pop into the sky directly overhead, out of nowhere.
Just appear.
Just appear. And as they slowly move toward the shore, he can actually hear this fluorescent humming sound. When they reach the backyard, they suddenly become erratic again. They dart around like fireworks, physically hitting the house, the trees, the water.
Hitting the house, that's terrifying.
Yeah. The man is huddled on the floor with Zemo, eyes closed in terror. Suddenly, the dog stops crying. The man opens his eyes, the lights are gone, and despite the house looking like it was just bombarded by Roman candles, there is zero physical damage anywhere.
Not a single scorch mark on the wood. No shattered glass.
Nothing.
Which further proves your laser pointer analogy. The light interacted with the physical space without transferring any kinetic energy or heat. But I really want to emphasize the importance of Zemo the dog here.
Because the dog doesn't know what a breakup is. I mean, the man was worried people would think he was hallucinating due to the stress of losing his fiancée.
Precisely. Stress-induced hallucinations are a real documented psychological phenomenon. But Zemo acted as an objective, independent barometer. Zemo tracked the anomaly. The dog's fear response turned off the exact second the anomaly vanished. That corroborates the man's account and proves this was a measurable external event in the physical world, not an internal psychological manifestation.
That objective validation is so rare in these types of stories. It really is. So we've seen localized pressure vacuums blowing doors open, and we've seen the projection of impossible weightless light. But what happens when an anomaly manipulates the ambient environment and even time itself?
Oh boy.
Yeah, our third and final account takes us into a territory that genuinely gives me the chills.
This is where the fabric of reality doesn't just bend, it completely tears.
Let's set the scene. This happened about 10 years ago. A father is on a cross-country RV trip with his wife Rachel and their 2 kids. They stay at this incredibly vast, secluded campground surrounded by deep forests and mountains.
Very isolated again.
Right. Now, this father has a secret cigarette habit he's trying to hide from his kids. So, late at night, after everyone is asleep, he takes a 15-minute walk deep into the woods to a ledge overlooking the forest so he can smoke in peace.
Notice the pattern here. Once again, we find our subject completely isolated. The family is asleep, he is alone in the dark.
Deep in the dark. And while he's sitting on this ledge, he starts hearing this unnatural pulsating sound. He describes it as a repetitive wow, wow, wow sound.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and as an experienced camper, he knows this isn't an animal, it sounds almost mechanical. He actually walks toward the sound to investigate it. As he feels like he's right on top of it, the pulsating sound stops. But it's not just the wow, wow sound that stops, the entire forest goes dead silent.
The Oz factor?
Yeah, the wind stops, the bugs stop. He says it was so quiet you could hear a pin drop.
In anomalous research, this specific detail is known as the Oz factor. It's a widely reported phenomenon where ambient environmental noise, crickets, wind, distant traffic completely and unnaturally ceases during an event of high strangeness. It creates a feeling of total spatial isolation.
See, I want to push back on this Oz factor concept, though. I mean, how does a forest just go quiet? Does a physical soundproof bubble actually drop over the person? Or is it more like stepping into an artificially soundproof recording studio?
This raises an important question. It's likely a manipulation of acoustics similar to active noise cancellation, but on a massive scale.
Like those expensive headphones.
Exactly. Think about how high-end headphones work. They have microphones that pick up ambient noise, and then they generate an inverted sound wave, a phase cancellation that perfectly neutralizes the incoming sound wave, creating a perceived zero.
Oh, wow.
Right. If an anomaly can manipulate atmospheric pressure and light, projecting an inverted acoustic waves to silence an area isn't out of the question.
That makes the wow wow sound even more ominous. Maybe it was calibrating the frequency to cancel out the forest noise, because in that total silence, he hears movement behind him. He turns around, and standing maybe 10 feet away in the darkness is a figure.
Just right there.
Right there. It's over 7 feet tall, incredibly skinny, and standing on 2 legs but hunched over. And he can see the moonlight reflecting off its unusually large eyes.
Careful.
They have this terrifying standoff. The father slightly shifts his weight forward, just taking a tiny step. The creature flinches, makes an absolutely bizarre noise, and then skitters off into the deep woods. And the moment it's gone, the normal ambient sounds of the forest, the wind, the rustling trees, instantly return to life.
The phase cancellation drops.
Yeah.
The environment snaps back to reality.
But the reality he snaps back to isn't the same. He walks the 15 minutes back to the RV, completely shaken. But when he gets there, his wife Rachel is furious. She tells him he's been gone for several hours. Hours. He checks his phone, and she's right. He has absolutely no memory of this lost time. And to top it all off, the next morning at sunrise, they hear this incredibly heavy but quiet whoosh sound pass directly over the RV.
Unbelievable.
Now, concerning that missing time, did he just go into a dissociative fugue state? Did he stand frozen on that ledge in deep psychological shock for hours without realizing it? Or does the complete silencing of nature imply he was temporarily pulled entirely out of our normal flow of reality?
It's the perfect opportunity to synthesize all three of these sources. The psychological explanation of a dissociative state due to trauma is valid, but when paired with the Oz factor, it really suggests a temporal distortion. If we look across all three accounts, we see a fascinating sonic fingerprint that precedes these reality breakdowns.
The sounds, yeah, they all have a specific sound.
Exactly. In the first story, we had the deafening low-bass boat horn before the doors blew. In the second, the fluorescent humming of the approaching lights before they swarmed the house. And in this third story, the pulsating wow, 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 followed by the heavy whoosh over the RV.
Wow, yeah.
All of these auditory anomalies occur in environments of supreme isolation. The remote house, the winter lake camp, the deep woods. It is as if this phenomenon requires the subjects to be physically cut off from broader society.
To isolate them.
Right. That isolation is what allows these forces to manipulate acoustics, atmospheric pressure, and even the perception of time without triggering mass detection. It creates a localized bubble where reality is rewritten for a single, isolated audience.
A localized bubble. This is such a haunting way to put it. Think about the last time your cell service dropped. It's usually just an annoyance, a dead zone, right? But imagine your service dropping at the exact millisecond a localized vacuum hits your home. So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
A very good question.
You might be thinking, well, I live in a city. I don't go to remote cabins in the winter, and I definitely don't take walks in darkened forests, so I'm safe. But the core lesson here is so much broader than geography. Our entire understanding of the physical world, how our deadbolts lock to keep us safe, how a clock ticks forward minute by minute, how light behaves when it hits a wall, all of that is incredibly fragile.
It really is.
It is based on a set of agreed upon rules that we rely on every single day, but occasionally something else entirely decides to break those rules. We walk around feeling so secure in our reality, but these stories show us just how thin the walls of that reality really are.
And I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over, building on exactly that fragility. Notice that in all three of these stories, despite the sheer terror of the experience, the entities or the lights never permanently harmed the individuals involved.
That's true, yeah.
And remarkably, the physical evidence, the footprints in the mud, the scorch marks on the wood, the crushed grass in the forest, immediately vanished or never existed at all. What if these unexplainable things aren't extraterrestrial travelers visiting us from some distant planet in physical spaceships?
Okay, what else would they be?
What if, instead, they are brief, accidental overlaps from a parallel reality? Imagine two radio stations crossing signals for just a few terrifying moments. For a few minutes, they're broadcasting into the exact same room, confusing the signals, before the dial turns and everything snaps back to normal.
Two radio stations crossing signals. That actually makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, because suddenly, the anomaly isn't a deliberate invasion, it's just